America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse.
I am here to convince you why the war on drugs needs to end. I am doing so because this is an extremely personal topic for me, as I have lost people I love to overdose, treated too many patients in the back of an ambulance with Narcan, and seen people like my mother mistreated for pain because politicians are making medical policies. Understanding why the war on drugs needs to end, first you need to understand the history of prohibition in this country, the economics, and about the millions of lives lost around the world from this failed drug policy. The war on drugs needs to be eliminated and replaced with an adult use recreational program that is taxed and regulated and sold by licensed professionals to adults, just like alcohol or tobacco. The 18th Amendment was enacted in 1919, which banned the manufacture, sale, and transport of alcoholic beverages. Within 3 months, homicide rates rose along with violent crime and theft. The homicide rates increased from 6 per 100,000 in the pre-Prohibition period to 10. During Prohibition, crime rose by 24%. With increased crime, the United States saw the formation of a new American institution, organized crime. Those crime factions made bootleg alcohol, which was often toxic. There were 1,000 recorded accounts of Americans dying each year from the effects of drinking tainted liquor. In addition to lives lost, alcohol prohibition cost the federal government $11 billion in lost tax revenue, while costing over $300 million to enforce. If any of this sounds familiar, it's because this is what we're living through with the same problems today with the war on drugs. The easiest of the above to understand is the similar economic implications. Regardless of your opinion of adult drug use, the fact of the matter is the United States spends billions of dollars a year enforcing the war on drugs, while deaths and addiction climb. Since the enactment of the war on drugs in 1971, the United States has spent $1 trillion on enforcement. And in 2022 alone, the federal drug control budget is $41 billion. As for the opportunity cost of the war on drugs, it is estimated that the country stands to gain $106.7 billion annually through taxes and local, state, and federal budgetary savings. Since 1968, 1,193,422 American deaths were attributed to overdose. Over 100,000 of those were from 2021 alone, and over 460,000 Americans are currently incarcerated for drug-related crimes. Despite decades of harsh enforcement, we've found that even grade school-aged children can still get their hands on illegal drugs. Last January, a 13-year-old boy overdosed and died after taking a counterfeit Percocet pill. Authorities later searched his school and found 40 bags of fentanyl pills that he had brought to school. If our legal system cannot keep illegal drugs out of the hands of children, it is time for a drastic change. Other significant deaths from counterfeit opiates, to name a few, are Michael K. Williams, Mac Miller, Tom Petty, and Prince. All the overdoses listed, including the Connecticut teen and my good friend, were from counterfeit Percocet 30s, which are fentanyl pills created in a clandestine lab to look like legitimate Percocet and sold by cartels and illegal organizations. U.S. drug habits are fueling drug wars in other countries. To keep up with American demand, the war on drugs in Mexico has reached new heights. Since 2007, over 150,000 people have been murdered. That is 62 times more deaths than military casualties in Afghanistan. While the United States continues archaic drug laws, countries like Portugal, Sweden, and the Netherlands are working on decriminalizing drugs and providing safe access to non-counterfeit drugs. Portugal is the gold standard for what happens when you stop decriminalizing people and work on the problems causing addiction. In 2001, Portugal decriminalized all drugs, and since then, Portugal has seen a decrease in overdose deaths, an increase in the average age of addicts, implying that younger Portuguese residents are not becoming drug addicts, and a significant reduction in arrests. The implementation of legalized drugs in America would follow similar guidelines to alcohol and tobacco. Drugs would be manufactured in facilities that are licensed and regularly inspected for high quality control. Drugs would then be taxed and sold in stores by licensed professionals that are going to make sure that drugs are kept out of the hands of minors. Drugs would have warning labels, doses, active and inactive ingredients listed so that users have the most possible information to know about the chemicals that they are ingesting. New tax revenue and previously earmarked funds could go towards state-sponsored rehab facilities, harm reduction programs, and moving towards a safer, healthier drug culture in America. The United States has failed prohibition laws in history for both drugs and alcohol. In the meantime, we need to stop spending tax dollars on a program that is endangering the lives of millions of Americans and people around the world. Everyone in this class has used an addictive substance at some point, whether it's caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, scrolling on your phone all day, over-the-counter drugs, or prescription medicine. What is the good reason behind banning some of those substances and not others? Why can't we as adults decide what we can consume? It is time to end the war on drugs and take back control of our bodies and minds.